What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're taking a look at the Ironfly Syperfly. If you haven't heard of the brand Ironfly, I actually hadn't either until I received this knife recently in a Going Gear subscription. Turns out they are the budget brand of Kunwu, and Kunwu makes some really nice knives in premium materials, so definitely stands to reason they should be able to do the same with budget materials, at least from an execution standpoint, and that's definitely been my experience with the Syperfly so far. In terms of the materials, we have G10 on the scales, a couple different colors. I think I've seen OD green and purple as well as the black, and then 14C28N on the blade steel, also available in coated or non-coated. So we have the satin finish here, non-coated. Price point is $69, so very reasonable for the materials, especially for a knife this size. I'll make sure to leave a link where you can find it down in the description of the video if you're interested in picking one up. Now, the knife itself is a beast at 8.58 inches in overall length, so definitely on the larger side of folding knives, but what that allows for is a 4.8 inch handle, which is plenty of real estate for that full four-finger grip and a pretty relaxed grip at that. So if you're wearing gloves or just have larger hands than I do, should still have room for all four fingers. Now it also has this oversized sharpening choil that you can utilize as a finger choil, and so maybe a little bit overkill on a knife this size, but I still appreciate it because I find the ergos and just kind of overall positioning here to be a lot more comfortable and a little bit more balanced, and so really enjoy this. And near perfect ergos for my hand in this positioning, but again, if you prefer that kind of further back grip, you still should have plenty of real estate for that full four-finger grip. Now the grip itself, really great ergos, no hot spots, very comfortable, and tons of grippiness. So that adds a lot of grippiness with the jimping here on the spine of the knife. My favorite style of jimping. It's not overly aggressive, but it's still a lot more effective than that really tight jimping that's close together and really isn't adding a ton to the grip. It's also slightly ramped with the shape of the thumb hole, so it makes for a nice landing spot for your thumb. And then when you're in that forward grip with that finger choil, you're really able to lock in with only those two fingers, and you're not going to slide forward or backwards on there. It gives a really sturdy and secure grip without much movement, whether you have wet hands, sweaty hands, not going to have a lot of movement with just those two fingers, but then you can obviously utilize the rest of the handle there as well. And so with the rest of the handle, again, G10 on the scales, there's some texturing on here, which aesthetically is not really doing anything for me, but in terms of grippiness, it's adding some grippiness in both the vertical direction and the horizontal direction, and so really going to make sure you're locked in. Again, if you have sweaty hands, wet hands, going to lock in with or without gloves there, and so really nice. Now they also add some jimping to the backspacer here, and that's also really grippy. It sticks out just barely, but it adds a surprising amount of grip. I don't find that I really notice it when I'm locked in here, but it's definitely adding to the grippiness because that jimping is pushing into the meat of the palm of my hand, and so just overall very secure grip on this one and really comfortable, no hot spots. You can see there's some nice contouring on the edges to keep any of the sharp or the edges from being too sharp. You don't really feel them at all. Pocket clip disappears behind your knuckles just like it's supposed to. Nice tip up deep carry pocket clip that is reversible as well, and it even ships with an extra wire pocket clip, and so if you bend or break yours, look in the pouch, there should be an extra in there. In terms of aesthetics, wire pocket clips aren't my favorite, but some people love them and they just work, they're reliable, so no problem with that whatsoever. And again, nice that it's reversible here. The only downside to wire pocket clips is that there's going to be a little bit of movement. There's not a lot of material there, so they will move back and forth a little bit. Not really consequential. It's not going to take away from the pocket clips utility. But with this one, they didn't really knock back the texturing or flatten out the texturing on the landing spot. And so what that means is that when you move it one direction, it's fine. It just kind of moves a little bit. But when you move it the other, it falls right into the crevice of the texturing, which creates a little bit of an audible cue you might be able to hear if I stop talking. And so again, non-consequential, not a big deal at all, but if that's the type of thing that would drive you crazy or bother you, figured it was worth pointing out. Now, in terms of our blade, we have a 3.74 inch sheepsfoot style blade. Beautiful blade shape on here. I love a sheepsfoot. I like the overall top shape of it as well with that thumb hole and then the sharpening choil. Just a great blade shape. Very minimal billboarding on here. 14C28N on the steel once again. And so you look at the show side, there's absolutely nothing on the blade. If you flip it around the other way, we do have the model designation Syperfly, but that's it. And so the rest of it's hidden on the flipper tab, so you might be able to see it if you flip it here. We have the 14 14C28N, so that's tucked away nicely, but overall very clean look. We do have a logo on our pivot, which I think that's a perfect place for the logo. Their logo is pretty simple, easy to read, so like their logo, it looks decent there. Definitely don't mind seeing that on the pivot. Now, the one major downside to this one that I haven't mentioned yet is going to be the weight. They listed at 4.69 ounces, which was pretty much spot on. I think I weighted at 4.71 ounces, but that's definitely within the margin for error there. But that's on the heavier side, even for a larger knife like this. So it's a shame they weren't able to shave off a little bit more weight to get it a little bit lower. There is some weight savings going on in those nested liners. There's some skeletonization going on in there, but still decently on the heavy side. Definitely a little bit heavy for me. Now, in terms of our lockup, we have a liner lock with some jimping on there as well. Plenty of access to that. I would prefer it didn't have that jimping. I don't like jimping on my liner or frame locks. I feel like it just chews away at my thumb over time. And it's usually this kind of tighter jimping that's even a little bit more chewing up on your fingers. But it works. You have plenty of access. It locks up nicely. Pretty smooth action. Not going to be quite as drop shutty as maybe a Kunwu would be, but very, very good action, above average overall there. And there's enough weight behind that blade where you can really shake it the rest of the way shut. One thing to keep in mind is if your grip's a little bit too high up here, you're going to be blocking the blade from dropping when you push down on that lock, because that flipper tab extends pretty far into the handle of the knife. So you just want to make sure your index finger is out of the way, and once you do, it drops about halfway and you can shake it the rest of the way closed. In terms of our deployment methods, we've used both of them already. We have our flipper tab, which works well. It's sticking out. It's a little bit ugly. I think it looks goofy when flipper tabs are this kind of large and stick out more. I'm not a huge front flipper fan in general, but when I do, I like them subtle and just to kind of follow the curves of the knife. This one's a little bit of an eyesore, but it works well. It's easy to get onto, and especially if you're not super experienced with front flippers, this is a good one to learn on, because it gives you a little bit of extra material there to kind of hide any errors and not really have to really get on top of it. If you place it too far down, too far up, usually it's still gonna flip, no problem whatsoever. In addition to that though, we have the thumb hole, which I really like because I prefer this over a front flipper. Perfect for those middle finger flicks. A little bit harder for the thumb flicks if you want to put your nail in there, but plenty of real estate to just get the meat of your thumb in there and flip it open. And so you have a couple of different options there, and then again, really nice kind of smooth action on there. Now, overall, I was mostly positive about this knife, but I would still say this probably isn't really a knife for me. Fortunately, most of the things that I don't like about it have more to do with preference than performance. And so if your preferences are a little bit different, this could actually be a perfect knife for you, especially at that budget price point. I think this could be really good for a lot of people. So should mention the preference things that I don't love about it, that maybe you're the exact opposite, and I know a lot of people are actually the exact opposite. So starting with the sizing, this is just a little bit more knife than I need on a daily basis. I'm self-employed, I work from home, I'm usually pretty content with smaller length of knives, and so I prefer 7.5 inches in overall length. And if it's going to err to one extreme or the other, I'd actually prefer it errs to the small side for a little bit more carryability than a larger knife. I just don't need a knife this large on most days. Obviously, there's situations where it's nice to have a larger knife, but I think from a day-to-day perspective, I prefer a little bit of a shorter knife. And also the weight, it's on the heavier side. Again, I dress pretty casually. A lot of times I'm in like basketball shorts or stuff, just walking the dog, and I don't want to be carrying around a brick in my pocket. And at 4.69 ounces, I think this is decently on the heavy side, where most people are going to find that they'd prefer something a little bit lighter. Now, outside of that, I think the front flipper, I already mentioned, it's not my favorite deployment method. I don't hate it, but I don't love the look of this overall. I think it just looks a little bit goofy when it's sticking out so far, and so don't love the look of that. G10 is a hard sell for me at this point in my collection. I have so much G10, pretty hard to get excited about. I think this looks nice overall. They did some nice contouring and texturing. That being said, I have gotten excited for some G10. It's usually multi-layer with different colors of the layers, and there's cutouts to expose the underlayer and kind of show off that other color while also adding some texturing. So it's not like I'm completely against G10, but don't really get excited about it either. Also don't love the wire pocket clip, but again, not really a dealer breaker for me. That's just kind of a visual preference there. But overall, I think if those are things that you prefer in a knife, this could be a really, really great knife at a great price point. Again, Kunwu makes some excellent knives, so there's a little bit of a track record there, even if you don't have any experience with their budget side Ironfly. They do have some other knives out there, so definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of Kunwu, just kind of what their overall lineup looks like. Let me know what you think of this one though down in the comments below. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, checking out some of my other content. All helps the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.